This might be the best new feature that Claude has launched since it came out. I've been testing it all day, and I've got to say, it's left me absolutely speechless. If you don't know what just dropped, it is essentially a new feature inside of Claude Cowork, which now allows you to teach a Claude skill to Claude with a video recording. So all you need to do is record your screen whilst you complete a task, talk through the task as you go, just like you do if you are filming a Loom video to onboard a new employee, and Claude will turn this into a skill which it can run again and again and again. For the demo of this video, I'm going to show you the client onboarding process. So if you're an agency and I run an agency, this is how you would onboard a client, and I'm going to teach that process to Claude. Okay, so I'm going to speak to Claude. This is the process every single time I sign a new client. I want you to use this process and create a repeatable Claude skill so you can do it on my behalf in the future. So firstly, I have the client tracker here. When I want to onboard a new client, I go into the new deals folder. Then I open the deal memo for a client. In this case, this is a new client that wants to be onboarded called Meridian Labs. And these are the notes that I have taken from my note taker granola that has automatically generated this memo based on the last conversation that we had. So whenever a new deal is signed, this is my process. I have the memo here. Then I go into clients. Then I create a new folder and I put the name of the client. So in this case, it would be Meridian. Then inside the folder, I create a new document with the exact terms of work. So in this case, the client gets $6,000 a month, and we have to do 5 pieces of content throughout the month, and we have weekly check-ins with the client. I need you to create a template to reflect that information. Then I go into my email, pretend this is my Gmail, and I say, hey, I enter the client name. We have processed your engagement. Here are the following terms. We'll attach the document of the terms so we're both on the same page, and then I'll send the email. And then once I've done that, I go back into the client tracker. Then I update the client tracker. So I update the sheet. I add the new client. So in this case, it's Meridian. Then I fill out all of the details. Then the second an invoice lands in my account, so scan my email for my reference from my accountant, I need you to add the payment status as complete. And then every time I have a meeting, I go into clients, Meridian, and then I put the meeting notes in. So my weekly meetings are all organized and summarized. All right, guys, now let's go back into Claude. Let's click done. And of course, like a real client onboarding process could be like a half an hour process. I'm showing you the sped up version, but imagine that for like 30 minutes with like really in-depth nuance of how you think about a client. This is amazing because it is basically forcing you to distill or knowledge compress, which is really the number one skill you need to have in AI. So what it's doing now is it's creating a skill based on everything I just showed it. It's absolutely amazing. Like, this is what it generated literally with a few minutes of demonstration. Client onboarding, the flow for it, what it needs to do in steps, exactly how it needs to operate. And you can actually click now save skill. I'll show you this will save to your skill library. So if you click manage in the top right-hand corner, or if you click on settings and you go into skills, this is how you can manage all of your skills. And if you ever want to download a skill, you click on the skill, for example, client onboarding, and you click download. I think it's very good practice on your computer to have a skills folder, just in case something happens to your Claude account. Like, you want to own your workflows and your skills. If you want to use the skill that we just created, you basically go client onboarding, and I'll use Whisperflow, which is the way that I can speak with my voice into the computer. It's a separate application, but it's better than Claude transcription. I'll say, all right, I'm onboarding a new client. Their name is Focus Capital. Please run the skill. So now it's going to access the client ops folder, the same folder that I trained it on. And of course, because this isn't a real client, there's going to be no meeting notes for it to be able to scrape and execute the process. But if this were a real process, it would be able to complete now and copy what I just did.